You were never ordinary, the truth they don't want you to know. Since the beginning of time, an unseen battle has been raging, one between light and darkness, truth and deception. And in the midst of it all, certain individuals have been set apart, marked for something far greater than they ever imagined. The shocking truth: most of them go through life never realizing it. They struggle, they question, they feel out of place in a world that glorifies wealth, status, and material success, completely unaware that they were chosen for a higher purpose from the moment they were born. What if you were one of them? What if, since childhood, there have been signs, subtle but undeniable clues pointing to your divine calling? What if every challenge, every victory, and every moment of isolation you've experienced wasn't random, but part of a greater plan? Society teaches us that money equals success, that without riches, we have nothing. But the truth: God's definition of abundance has nothing to do with material wealth. His plan for you is tied to destiny, purpose, and impact, the very reason you were placed on this earth. Take a look around. People chase money, convinced it will bring them happiness, yet they still feel empty. They seek luxury, believing it will give them security, yet they live in constant fear of losing it all. But when God marks someone, when He places a calling over their life, no amount of money, no level of ambition, no earthly success can ever compare to walking in His divine will. Have you ever felt different, like you don't quite fit in? Have you faced unusual struggles since childhood, challenges that seem designed to break you? That's not a coincidence. Throughout history, every great man and woman of faith, those who changed the world, were set apart from birth. But they had to recognize the signs, embrace their calling, and step into their purpose. And now it's your turn. In the next few moments, you're about to uncover something that could change your life forever. The hidden signs that God may have been revealing to you since childhood. Clues that prove you were chosen, that you were destined for something greater than what this world offers. But before we go any further, don't let this moment pass you by. Take a second to pause this video and do 3 things. 1. Hit that like button to let the algorithm know this message matters. 2. Subscribe. Help us reach 10,000 people who need this truth. 3. Drop the number 11 in the comments, a powerful signal that you are ready to receive this revelation. Because what you're about to learn is knowledge most people go their entire lives without ever discovering. And once you see the truth, you will never look at your life the same way again. Chosen from the womb. Your destiny was decided before birth. Your purpose was set in motion before you even took your first breath. And if you're here, it's not by accident. I need you to do something important. I know your time is valuable, but if you are watching this, it means you are someone who values God's truth. You understand that His Word has the power to transform lives. So, right now, take a moment and declare this over your life in the comments. I trust that God will give me victory to overcome every obstacle. When you speak words of faith, you align yourself with His promises. And as a sign that we stand together in this truth, I will personally heart every comment. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to carry an undeniable sense of purpose? A divine calling that sets them apart. Even from childhood, the answer is found in Scripture. Before you were even formed, God had already written your story. In Jeremiah 1:5, God tells the prophet, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." This wasn't just a message for Jeremiah. It is a spiritual truth that applies to every single person God has called. That includes you, a calling that cannot be stopped. Look at Moses. From the moment he was born, his life was in danger. Pharaoh ordered the death of every Hebrew male child, yet God had a plan. Moses was placed in a basket, sent down the river, and miraculously adopted into the very palace that sought to destroy him. He grew up surrounded by wealth, power, and privilege. Yet despite all of that, his heart was drawn to something greater, his true purpose, leading God's people to freedom. Why is it that those chosen by God often face obstacles before they even have the chance to live out their calling? Because the enemy recognizes destiny before the chosen one does. If you've ever faced opposition, rejection, or challenges that seem designed to break you, understand this: it was never about you. It was about the calling placed on your life, the battle over your destiny. Think about Jesus. Before he could even speak a word, King Herod tried to kill him, ordering the massacre of innocent children. Why? Because darkness always tries to eliminate the light before it shines. But what the enemy intends for harm, God turns into preparation. There is no amount of wealth, no financial success, no luxury in this world that compares to walking in the divine plan of God. So let me ask you, will you step into the calling God has placed on your life? Declare it today. Stand firm in faith. Because you were chosen before birth, your destiny is waiting. On fire, the world glorifies wealth, yet even the richest man, without purpose, feels empty. That's why so many who seem to have everything still feel lost. Because without God's calling, without understanding why you were placed on this earth, nothing will ever truly satisfy. The truth is, the greatest wealth isn't material. It's knowing you were chosen, that you were set apart for something far greater. The signs have always been there. The moments when you felt different, the struggles that shaped you, the times you sensed there was more to life than what meets the eye. But here's the problem. Most people ignore these signs. They let the world define their worth through money, luxury, and status. But the chosen ones? They are called to something deeper. Their inheritance isn't just earthly riches, it's eternal significance. So ask yourself, have you ever experienced moments where God's hand was undeniably at work? Times when He protected you, redirected you, or placed certain desires in your heart that made you feel different? If so, that's no accident. If you've ever felt like you didn't quite fit in, like your spirit wrestled with the things of this world, there's something you need to understand. And as we continue this journey, it will become even clearer. Now, tell me, does this resonate with you? Have you ever felt like you were set apart for something greater, even if you didn't fully understand it? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move forward. There is much more to uncover. Signs in childhood. How God reveals His calling. Early childhood is a powerful season, one where we are the purest version of ourselves. Before the world tells us who to be, before doubts creep in, and before society conditions us to ignore what we instinctively know deep in our souls, God often begins planting the first signs of our divine calling. But here's the problem. Most people miss the signs. They dismiss them as mere childhood imagination, fleeting interests, or coincidences. Yet, in God's plan, nothing is random. Every passion, every talent, and every deep yearning you've carried since you were young is there for a reason. Throughout the Bible, we see powerful examples of God revealing His purpose in early life. Joseph, for instance, had prophetic dreams as a child, visions of leadership, of purpose, of destiny. But instead of being celebrated, he was met with jealousy and rejection. His brothers despised him. His own father rebuked him. Yet those dreams weren't meaningless. They were a direct preview of his divine assignment. Now think about yourself. Have you ever felt different? Maybe while others were chasing wealth, you were drawn to something deeper, spiritual truths, wisdom beyond your years. a sense of purpose you couldn't explain. Maybe you had a heart for people, for justice, for something greater than yourself. That wasn't by accident. The chosen ones often feel like outsiders. Look at Samuel. As a child, he literally heard God calling his name in the temple, but he didn't recognize it at first. He assumed it was Eli, his mentor, calling him. It wasn't until Eli realized what was happening that Samuel finally understood. God himself was speaking to him. How many people live their entire lives hearing that same divine call, but never recognizing it for what it truly is? God has been calling you. The real question is, have you been listening? For some, the signs of their calling show up in the form of wisdom beyond their years. Just like Solomon, who was granted unmatched understanding because his heart aligned with God's purpose. For others, like David, it appears as courage beyond expectation. While the world saw a mere shepherd boy, God saw a king. You were set apart. The truth about being chosen. The world measures success by wealth, status, and luxury. But God measures people by their heart, their obedience, and their willingness to fulfill His purpose. Society glorifies those who accumulate riches, yet God elevates those who build legacies that impact eternity. Now, think back to your childhood. Were there moments when you felt different? When something inside you told you that you didn't quite fit the mold? Did you have dreams, passions, or convictions that others couldn't understand? Maybe while your peers focused on personal gain, you felt an undeniable pull to help others. Maybe you saw injustice and couldn't turn a blind eye, while everyone else accepted it as just the way things were. Or maybe you possessed talents, wisdom, or insights that no one around you could explain. These weren't coincidences. God begins working in the lives of His chosen ones from an early age, but the world tries to drown out His voice, pushing materialism, social status, and fleeting success over divine purpose. Yet no amount of wealth can buy purpose, and no level of luxury can replace the calling of God on your life. Take a moment to reflect. What moments in your past hinted at something greater? What childhood experiences now make sense in light of what you're discovering today? Because once you start recognizing the signs, you can't ignore them. The battle against the chosen. Why the enemy targets you early. Have you ever noticed that some people seem to glide through life with little resistance, while others face battle after battle, even from a young age? It's almost as if they're marked, as if there's an invisible force working to keep them down before they even have a chance to rise. That's not random. It's a strategy, and it happens to those who are chosen. Throughout history, those with a divine calling have always been met with opposition. The enemy often recognizes destiny before the chosen one does. He doesn't wait until they step into their purpose. He moves early, trying to stop them before they even realize who they truly are. Look at Moses. Before he could even speak, Pharaoh ordered the execution of all Hebrew male infants. Why? Because the enemy knew a deliverer was coming and tried to destroy him before he could fulfill his calling. Look at Jesus. Before he even began his ministry, King Herod sent soldiers to slaughter innocent children. Darkness tried to snuff out the light before it had the chance to shine. The same pattern repeats throughout history. Those marked by God often endure hardship, rejection, and overwhelming battles, far beyond what seems fair for their age. So, if you've faced resistance since childhood, if your life has been filled with unexplainable challenges, isolation, or constant opposition, know this: the enemy attacks what he fears, and that means there's something powerful inside you that the darkness has been trying to silence. But now that you see it, you can no longer be stopped. You were chosen for something greater. You were chosen for a reason, and that's why He fears you. He doesn't fear those who live for themselves, those chasing wealth, status, and luxury without purpose. No, He fears the ones called by God to disrupt the darkness. He fears those set apart to bring light into the world. If you've ever wondered why your life has been marked by struggle when you've done nothing to deserve it, understand this. Your battles are proof of your calling. The world equates hardship with failure. People assume that struggle means you've gone astray. But in God's kingdom, it's often the opposite. The fiercest battles are reserved for those with the greatest purpose. The attacks you faced weren't about your past. They were about your future. Think about it. Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery. Daniel was thrown into a den of lions. Esther was taken from her family and forced into the palace of a pagan king. Each of them endured suffering before stepping into their destiny. Now, consider your own life. Have you ever wondered why you faced rejection, pain, or opposition that seemed far greater than those around you? Maybe you grew up feeling unseen, unwanted, or out of place. Maybe you've been betrayed by people you trusted. Maybe life has thrown obstacles at you that seemed designed to break you. But despite it all, you refuse to give up. That's the mark of the chosen. Because here's the truth. If the enemy can convince you that you're worthless, that you're just another person trying to survive in a world obsessed with material success, then you'll never step into your true purpose. If he can keep you distracted by chasing wealth and status, making you believe your worth is tied to what you own instead of who God created you to be, then he's already won. But those who see the truth are unstoppable. They know their wealth isn't measured in money, but in divine purpose. They understand that their struggles weren't setbacks. They were preparation. So, if you've ever felt like your life has been under attack, if you've ever wondered why nothing comes easy for you while others seem to have smooth paths, don't be discouraged. Your battles were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to shape you. They were preparing you for what's coming. And what's coming is greater than you can imagine. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. If you're feeling the weight of the battle right now, listen closely. Your breakthrough is nearer than you realize. If this message speaks to your heart, if you've ever wondered why your struggles felt unfair, but now you're beginning to see they had a greater purpose, take a moment to like this video. Not only does it help spread this message to those who need to hear it, but it also serves as a declaration of faith, a bold step in choosing to see beyond the hardship and into the victory that God has already set in motion for you. Because your story isn't over. In fact, it's just getting started. At the development of the chosen, how God uses trials to prepare you. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when they start to question everything. Why is my path so much harder than others? Why do I feel so different from the people around me? Why do the dreams God placed in my heart always seem to meet resistance? The answer: preparation. God doesn't send untrained warriors into battle. He doesn't elevate untested leaders. If you are called to something great, you must first be refined. Your faith, character, and endurance must be tested and strengthened. While the world sees hardship as failure, God sees it as preparation. Look at Joseph. God gave him dreams of leadership and greatness. But what came next? Betrayal, slavery, imprisonment. From the outside, his life looked like a series of misfortunes. But in reality, God was preparing him for the palace. Look at David. He was anointed king as a boy, yet he spent years running for his life, facing relentless battles. He was called, but not yet ready. His trials shaped him into the leader Israel needed. Even Moses, raised in wealth and power, Yet before leading Israel, he spent 40 years in the wilderness. Why? Because he needed to unlearn dependence on earthly strength and learn humility, obedience, and total reliance on God. Trials are not meant to break you, they are meant to build you. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think struggle means they are not called, when in reality, struggle is often the very proof that they are. The enemy doesn't attack those who pose no threat. God doesn't allow battles without a purpose. So, if you feel the weight of this season, don't give up. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. Your breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you'll see that every trial was worth it. Keep standing, keep believing. Your story isn't over yet. On fire. Think about it. If God gave you everything you were meant to have before you were ready, would you be able to handle it? If Joseph had gone straight to Pharaoh's palace without first enduring slavery and prison, would he have had the wisdom to rule a nation? If David had been crowned king without years of battle, would he have had the strength to lead? The process is necessary. And this is where so many chosen ones make a critical mistake. They look around and see people building their lives on money, luxury, and status. They see the wealthy thriving while they struggle, and they start to question God's plan. But here's the truth. What the world calls success is not what God calls success. Money fades, wealth can disappear overnight, luxury is temporary, but purpose? Purpose is eternal. Now, here's something even deeper. Sometimes God will withhold riches from those He has called, not to punish them, but to protect them. Because wealth without purpose can destroy a person. History is full of people who rose to power and fell just as quickly because they weren't prepared for the weight of success. God isn't just preparing you for elevation, He's preparing you to sustain it. So, if you're in a season of waiting, struggling, or uncertainty, hear this. It's not punishment, it's preparation. Look at your life. Look at the battles you fought. Look at everything God has brought you through. Do you really think it was all for nothing? Every hardship, every rejection, every moment of struggle was shaping you, strengthening you, teaching you. Because when the time comes for you to step into the fullness of God's plan, you won't just survive, you'll thrive. And the best part, what's coming will be worth everything you've endured. Unlocking your God-given gifts, recognizing and using them for His purpose. There is something truly powerful about the gifts God places inside of us. These gifts are not random and not small. They are signposts, guiding us toward the purpose He designed for our lives. But here's the problem. Most people never recognize their gifts, or even worse, they misuse them for things that were never part of God's plan. From the moment a child is born, the clues are there, hints of what they were created to do. But the world teaches us to ignore these signs. Society convinces people to chase wealth, status, and material success, redefining what it means to live a good life. Yet the gifts God gives us were never meant to serve only ourselves. They were given for a divine purpose. Biblical examples of God's gifts in action. Look at Samuel. Even as a child, he could hear God's voice when others could not. That wasn't something he learned. It was a gift that was inside him from the very beginning. Or consider Solomon, who, even in his youth, understood that wisdom was more valuable than wealth or luxury. When given the chance to ask God for anything, he didn't request riches. He asked for understanding. Because of that, God not only gave him wisdom beyond measure, but also wealth beyond imagination. Your gifts are only as powerful as how you use them. There are countless talented, skilled, and gifted people in the world. People with natural abilities that could change lives. But instead of using their gifts for God's purpose, they chase money, influence, and status. They use their talents to build their own success instead of building the kingdom of God. But here's the truth that most people don't realize. Gifts that are not used for God will never bring true fulfillment. The world will tell you, use your talents to make money. Pursue power and luxury. Success is measured by how much you gain. But no amount of money, fame, or earthly success can satisfy someone who is living outside of their purpose. Success without God is empty. How many people have reached the top of their careers, accumulated wealth and built empires, only to find themselves feeling empty? Because here's the reality. Without God, even the greatest success is meaningless. Your gifts were given to you for a reason, and that reason isn't just to build personal success, but to glorify God and make an impact in the world. So ask yourself, are you using your gifts for His glory or just for yourself? Are you recognizing the talents God has placed inside of you? Or are you ignoring them because they don't align with the world's definition of success? Are you chasing purpose or are you chasing money? God has given you something unique, something powerful, but it's up to you to use it the way He intended. Because when you align your gifts with His purpose, you won't just be successful, you'll be fulfilled. Your purpose is no accident, it's your calling. Maybe you've always been a natural leader. Maybe you have the ability to inspire others, to lift people up when they feel lost. Maybe you have a heart that longs to help, a mind that sees solutions others overlook, or a talent that could bring hope to the broken. Whatever it is, it's not random, it's intentional. When God gives a gift, He doesn't do it without reason. Your talents, your strengths, even your struggles, they all serve a purpose. True fulfillment isn't found in wealth, status, or material success. It comes from stepping into the purpose you were created for. Because at the end of the day, when everything else fades, when money, luxury, and power no longer matter, only one thing will remain: what you did with what God placed inside you. At the moment, everything changes when you realize who you really are. There comes a point in every chosen one's life when everything starts to shift. A moment when what once felt confusing suddenly makes sense. You begin to see that your journey has never been random, your pain has never been wasted, and every experience, both good and bad, has been preparing you for something greater. For some, this realization comes in a single life-changing event. For others, it happens gradually, like puzzle pieces falling into place. But for every chosen one, there comes a defining moment where they must make a choice. Will you embrace your calling, or will you keep running from it? Moses had that moment. He spent 40 years living in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by wealth, status, and comfort. He had access to everything the world had to offer, but deep down, he knew he wasn't just another prince of Egypt. He was called to something greater, and when the time came, he had to decide. Would he ignore his purpose and continue living in comfort, or would he step into the unknown and embrace his divine assignment? Esther had that moment. She was taken from her home, placed in a palace, and given a life of unimaginable wealth. But when her people were in danger, she had a choice: stay silent and enjoy the comfort of royalty, or risk everything to fulfill her true purpose. And now, it's your moment. What will you do with the gifts, the calling, the fire that's been placed inside you? Because one thing is certain: you were not chosen by accident. It's time to embrace who you are. You were never meant to fit in. It's time to answer the call. There comes a moment in every chosen one's life when they reach a crossroads, and when they do, they can no longer pretend to be like everyone else. Maybe you've felt it, the tension deep inside, a quiet whisper telling you that the life you've been living isn't the life you were created for. Maybe you've tried to fit in, to chase the things the world glorifies, money, status, luxury. But no matter how much you try, something inside you knows there's more. This is where the path divides. Some people hear the call and step forward. Others ignore it, hoping it will fade. But here's the truth. God won't force you into your purpose. He will call you, He will guide you, and He will place signs along the way. But in the end, the choice is yours. Many delay this decision for years, for decades, for a lifetime. They feel the pull, but hesitate, afraid of leaving their comfort behind, afraid of stepping into the unknown, afraid of losing what they've built. But what most people don't realize is this. When you step into your calling, everything else aligns. The world teaches that success comes from relentless striving, chasing wealth, and working endlessly to build a life of status. But in God's kingdom, success comes from alignment. When you walk in your purpose, provision follows. When you say yes to the call, everything starts to make sense. Most people spend their lives chasing things that will never fulfill them because they never had the courage to embrace what they were truly meant to do. But what about you? If you're here reading this, it's not by accident. God has been speaking to you. He has been placing signs in your life, confirming what you already know deep inside. Everything you've been through has been leading you to something greater. So the question is simple. Will you answer the call? Because when you do, everything changes. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone struggling with their purpose, someone feeling lost, share this with them now. Don't wait. Sometimes all it takes is one word, one confirmation, to set a person on the path they were always meant to walk. This is your moment. Will you take it? The moment of destiny. When the chosen one steps forward, everything has led to this moment. Every struggle, every trial, every lesson. It was all preparation for what comes next. There comes a point in every chosen one's life when staying in the background is no longer an option. Their calling is no longer a distant dream but an undeniable reality. It's the moment when the weight of their purpose becomes too great to ignore. They can no longer live as if their life is ordinary, because it's not. Look at Jesus. He spent 30 years in preparation, waiting for the appointed time. And when John the Baptist declared, "Behold, the Lamb of God, who takes away the sin of the world," John 1:29, he didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, fully aware of his mission, fully aware of the cost. Look at David. He was anointed as king long before he ever sat on the throne. But the moment he faced Goliath, everything changed. The years of obscurity, rejection, and waiting had all led to this defining moment. The moment he had to step forward and act. Every chosen one has a defining moment. A moment where they can no longer remain silent, no longer pretend to be something they're not. A moment where they must step into their true identity. For some, this moment comes suddenly, like a lightning strike. For others, it happens over time, a slow but steady awakening. But make no mistake, the moment always comes. And here's what most people don't realize. Stepping into your purpose doesn't end the battle, it intensifies it. The enemy does not fight those who are passive. He fights those who are dangerous. And nothing is more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness than someone who fully embraces their calling. This is why, for many, the moment they decide to walk in obedience to God, resistance increases, attacks become fiercer, the weight becomes heavier. Because stepping into purpose isn't just about receiving, it's about responsibility. Moses didn't become a leader without opposition. Joseph didn't become a ruler without years of suffering. Esther didn't save her people without risking her life. But here's the difference between the chosen and the ordinary. The chosen do not quit. No struggle, no loss, no attack is enough to make them turn back. Because they know one thing: the price of obedience is far less than the cost of regret. So now the question isn't whether you are chosen. That has already been decided. The real question is, what will you do with what you now know? Will you keep living as if your life is just another story? Or will you rise, step fully into your purpose, and become the person you were created to be? Because the time is coming, and when it does, the chosen will no longer remain hidden. They will stand. They will lead. They will change the world. Will you be one of them? You were never ordinary. It's time to step into your calling. If you felt something stirring deep inside, if this message resonates with you on a level you can't ignore, then know this: you are being called to something greater, and when the moment arrives, you must be ready. Now that you've heard this truth, you have a choice. You can walk away and pretend nothing has changed, or you can recognize this as the moment everything shifts. Because now you know. You were never meant to live an ordinary life. You were never just another person drifting through existence without purpose. You were chosen. Every struggle you faced, every challenge that tested you, it was never random. It was shaping you, refining you, preparing you for what's ahead. And now you stand at a crossroads. Will you answer the call? The world will try to pull you away. It will distract you with wealth, comfort, and illusions of success. It will make you believe that your value is measured by money, that happiness is found in material things. But now you understand something deeper. True fulfillment comes only when you walk in the purpose God has placed on your life. This is why so many who seem to have everything, money, status, influence, still feel empty. Because wealth without purpose is meaningless. Success without a calling is just a distraction. But those who step into their calling, they have something money can't buy. They have peace. They have confidence. They have power. They have clarity. They have purpose. So now I ask you, what will you do with what you've learned? Will you ignore the signs, dismiss this as coincidence, and continue as before? Or will you take this as your wake-up call? Because soon, the time will come when you must choose. And the truly chosen ones, they won't remain in the background. They will rise. They will lead. They will change the world. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss what's coming next. Turn on notifications. Every message is meant to prepare you for what's ahead. And if this resonated with you, share it. Send it to a friend, a family member, because you never know whose life could be transformed by this truth. And before you go, there's another message waiting for you, a video that will take this revelation even deeper. Click on the video on your screen right now and continue this journey. Because your calling isn't in the future, it starts now.